Your federal benefits makes you different, which makes your needs going into retirement different. And your pension is one of the biggest things as a federal employee that makes you different than the average American. The average American would love to have a pension, but the average American doesn't have one. So what does that mean for your investment strategy? How should you be using your TSP, investing your TSP to take that into account? Because at the end of the day, if you're following advice that's meant for the average American, you're going to get the results of an average American, which most people don't want that. You want to get the results that are tailored for you and your goals. So let's talk about it. Let me share an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say there's two people here. Let's start with the first person here. Let's say this is the non-Fed, okay? So the average American. Let's say this person has $1 million saved in their investments. Let's say they want to spend about $100,000 a year in total expenses. And let's say they have about $50,000 worth of Social Security every single year. That means from their investments, they're probably looking to take out maybe $50,000 a year, something to that effect. Now let's look at this other person. Let's say this person is the federal employee in our example. Let's say they also have $1 million in their TSP. Let's say they want to live off $100,000 a year. Let's say they also have Social Security of $50,000 a year, but let's say they have a pension of $30,000 a year. So between their Social Security and their pension, they make $80,000 a year. And to get to $100,000 of expenses in retirement, maybe they only need $20,000 worth of withdrawals. So the non-Fed needs $50,000 and the Fed needs $20,000. So the amount that the non-Fed needs to withdraw from investments is significantly higher in this example. So how does that change how you should be investing? Well, let me explain. Your pension and things like Social Security, your fixed income, in many ways acts like bonds. All right. Now, if you're not familiar with the terms, of course, stocks and bonds, right? The stocks are the ones like the CS&I funds. Bonds are things like G fund, F fund. All right. Again, stocks are CS&I, bonds, G fund, and F fund. A bond is something that's relatively conservative. It generally pays out pretty regular payments, and you can rely on it. And that's the same thing we can say about your pension and Social Security. It is very conservative, right? It's going to be there every single month. You're not taking on a risk when you have your pension and Social Security. And so for many people, for many federal employees, they don't need as much short-term investments in their TSP, things like G and F funds, because they already have a bunch of that built in just by virtue of you having a pension and Social Security. So what does that mean for you? Well, for many Feds, it means, again, to have more in the CS&I throughout your retirement. But how can you know for you a good rule of thumb on where you should be investing? Well, let me walk you through a strategy that can help you figure it out. Now, one thing I'll say before I dive into this strategy is while I am a financial planner, I am not your financial planner. So this is purely for educational purposes. But you want to make sure you talk with your advisor, your planner, to make sure you got a great strategy for you. So this is our approach to building a strategy, a way that you should be investing based on your needs, not based on just the average American needs. Again, you want to tailor it for you as a federal employee. And this is the way we approach it. We break money into two different buckets, short-term and long-term. Again, the short-term are things like bonds, which are things like G fund and F fund. The long-term bucket are things like CS and I. Those are, of course, the stock-based funds, and they are going to fluctuate a whole lot more over time. Now, here's the rule of thumb that we follow. Anywhere from 5 to 8 years or so worth of money should be here in this fund, the short-term bucket. Let me explain what that means. What does 5 to 8 years worth of money mean? Well, if you need to take out $20,000 a year worth of withdrawals, well, 5 years of that, 5 multiplied by 20, would be $100,000, meaning the amount you would withdraw within about 5 years is $100,000. So if you wanted 5 years worth in your short-term bucket, you'd want $100,000 in your G and F fund. Now, some people ask, especially with the market doing as well it has over the last 10, 15 years, many people ask, well, why do I want that much money in safe investments when I could put them in the long-term bucket and earn more over time? Well, that's a great question. Retirement changes the strategy. And many of you know this naturally, but the market has lots of ups and downs. What if there is a down market And that is when you want to take the withdrawal. Well, if you take money out when the market is down, that is an absolutely worst case scenario. You're permanently depleting your money when it's worth a lot, or it lost a lot of its value. For example, let's say your house is worth $500,000, okay? And then let's say there's a housing market crash and it goes down to 300,000. So it's worth way less than it was before. Is that the time you want to sell your house? No, that's not the time you want to sell your house. We want to wait, let things recover. And the way we do the same thing with your TSP, with your investments, is to have short-term money, so you don't have to sell when the market is down. Okay, so that is one way to build basically a plan that's tailored for you, because guess what? The amount of money you might need in the next 5 to 8 years is going to be different than even your coworker sitting next to you. You've got to figure out, how much do I need to actually withdraw from my investments? And from there, you can build a plan that is more tailored to your spending plans, not an average American, not a generic anything. It's for you, your income, your pension, your Social Security. Now, one problem with implementing some of these strategies in, let's say, TSP or 401k is TSP requires that when you take a withdrawal, it comes proportional from things like the G fund. If you have that, basically it comes proportional from all the funds you're in. So if you have money in G fund and C fund, you can't decide which fund to pull your money from. It comes from all of them. You can solve this problem with an IRA. I've got whole videos on TSP versus IRA if you want to check those out, because there certainly are pros and cons. But those are the biggest things to consider when building a customized investment plan for you. So I hope this is helpful. If you have questions about any of this, put it in the comments below. We've got a great community of retiring federal employees that help each other, so stick it in the comments below. I hope that's helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video.